What if I told you that most front desk problems aren't really front desk problems? Collection problems, training problems, turnover problems, patient satisfaction problems, policy problems, communication problems, blah, blah, blah. Lots of different problems. At first glance, they'll all seem different, but underneath them, they often have the same root cause: people. More specifically, how people think, feel, react, avoid, misunderstand, and ultimately make decisions. That's what this series is about. If you've worked in healthcare long enough, you've probably heard explanations like, the receptionist needs more training, the patient wasn't listening, the employee just doesn't care, people don't want to work anymore. These are common problems you hear. Some of the explanations are true, but often they're incomplete because behavior is rarely random. People usually have reasons for doing what they do. The challenge is that some of those reasons aren't always obvious, and when we don't want the reason behind their behavior, we usually create a wrong solution. Sometimes those explanations are true, but often they're just incomplete because behavior is rarely random. People usually have reasons for what they do. The challenge is that those reasons aren't always so obvious. And when we don't understand the reason behind the behavior, we usually create the wrong solution. Let's look at a simple example. A receptionist isn't collecting a balance. Management says, well, she needs more training. Seems reasonable, but what if the problem isn't knowledge? What if she's really afraid of confrontation? Now we're solving the wrong problem. Or imagine a patient saying, nobody told me. Staff assumes they're lying. But what if the patient generally didn't understand what was explained? Again, we're solving the wrong problem. The behavior looks the same. The psychology, however, is completely different. Most healthcare offices focus on what people do. Front desk psychology focuses on why people do what they do. For example, instead of asking, why didn't receptionists collect the copay? We ask, what made collecting the copay feel risky? Instead of asking, why is this patient angry? We ask, what expectation was violated? Instead of asking, why isn't this employee following the policy? We ask, what behavior is being rewarded instead? Those questions lead to very different answers and much better solutions. Healthcare is full of technical training. People learn insurance verification and prior authorizations, scheduling, registration, collections, and billing. All of that is important, but here's the reality. Most mistakes don't happen because people don't know the process. They happen because people are human. People forget. People get emotional. People avoid discomfort. People make assumptions. They develop habits. People protect themselves. And unless we understand those things, we spend our careers treating symptoms instead of causes. Think of what happens every day at the front desk. Patients arrive anxious. Staff feels rushed. Insurance creates confusion. And money creates tension. Schedules then create pressures, and expectations collide. It's one of the most physiologically interesting places in healthcare because every day you see fear, frustration, trust, communication, habits, conflict, motivation, and burnout, all playing out in real time. Most people just don't realize that that's what they're watching. This series isn't about teaching insurance. Although we do talk about insurance, it's not about teaching collections, although we'll talk about collections. It's not about teaching management, although we'll talk about management. It's about understanding the human behavior underneath all of those things. Because when you understand the psychology, the operations start making more sense. Suddenly you realize patients aren't always difficult. Employees aren't always lazy. Managers aren't always wrong. Sometimes everyone is reacting normally to a situation nobody fully understands. Over the course of this series, we'll explore topics like why patients say nobody told me, why receptionists fear confrontation, why policies fail, why good employees stop caring, why turnover happens, and why accountability breaks down, and dozens more. Not from a billing perspective, not from a compliance perspective, from a human perspective. Every behavior makes sense to the person doing it. Even when that behavior seems irrational, it still makes sense to the patient doing it. That's one of the most important truths in psychology. The receptionist avoiding collections, the patient arguing about a deductible, the employee resisting change, the manager making exceptions. Everyone believes they're acting for a reason. When we understand the reason, we finally understand the behavior. Most healthcare offices spend their time asking, what happened? Front desk psychology asks, why did it happen? Because their answer to the question is where real improvement begins. Not in the policy, not in the software, not in the script. It's understanding people. And that's exactly what we're going to talk about and go through throughout this series. If you can only understand what people do, you'll keep fixing symptoms. If you understand why they do it, you'll finally solve the problem. So in closing, remember that healthcare would be a lot easier if it wasn't for all the patients, employees, managers, doctors, insurance companies, and humans involved. See you in the next one.